Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time to click on my video, and I hope you stay and watch. I'll try not to make it too long. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. All right, today we're going to be doing a set on just one of my hands, so 5 fingers. It's going to be a pop-off set. I'm not going to show you the pop-off, but just so you know, it's just a practice. Right here, I'm going to show you the acrylics I'm using. This is Kiara Sky Pink Dahlia. I did a review on Kiara Sky products recently, and this is one of their cover colors, which I stand behind all the way. Excellent product. That's going to be Ice Queen from Not Polish. That's just a bright white. And this is Naughty Girl from Not Polish. I'm obsessed with this creamy dark brown color. And then just black acrylic from Not Polish, as well as some clear from Model 1s, that UNT peel off base coat, Young Nails monomer. These tips, these are going to be triple X C-curve straight square, and I just want to show you the shape of these, what the C-curve looks like, the length, the thickness. They're excellent tips, and that's what they look like on. I did the prep beforehand because, as you can see with this thumb here, that base coat, that peel off base coat, they just pop off at the slightest thing, so filing them is a real chore. So I'm going to start here with my thumb. I'm going to do the full nail, this gorgeous brown color called Naughty Girl. Most of this video is sped up 2 times, but you will see it slow down at some point where I'm just showing my more real-time application for different reasons. Sometimes I'm showing you how I pick up a bead. Sometimes I'm showing you how I wait for the product to thicken a little before I drag it down. So we'll discuss that as we go along. I'm also using Young Nails monomer, Young Nails Kolinsky brush, and this set will be done with a matte top coat, so Matte It by Not Polish. I'm also using Young Nails table towels, dental bibs from Amazon. Let me see what else. I'm trying not to say but that was a spot that needed an sorry. Yeah, Not Polish Zebra File 100 grit. That's barely at the end. I show you guys just some tip shaping. I don't really use a 1, 2, or 3, or 4 bead method, but I do generally start if I'm doing a solid color like this, start my application close to the tip and or free edge. If they're much shorter, then I start closer to where the tip meets the natural nail, where it's glued on. This cuticle bead got out of control quickly. I made it too wet, so I didn't show you putting it on. I just showed you me chasing it down the nail. For the most part, I have Not Polish liquid to powder ratio figured out. If you guys have been working with acrylic, you know that every brand is different. So I typically use Not Polish. If I'm doing a set, 90% of the products I'm using are going to be Not Polish, so I'm really used to their performance. And you will see the first marble nail I make, which is on my index finger, it quickly becomes a disaster because as I'm moving along here, I'm using the liquid powder ratio and my normal application that I would for Not Polish when I apply the Kiara Sky, and that product needs to be used much drier. I'm showing you here how I look at all angles of the nail. When I aim my finger toward me and have the free edge, I'm looking at the free edge. That's what I call looking down the barrel. So a lot of times I'll tell you to look down the barrel of your nail. Look at from all sides. Look for any blank spots. Clean up your sides as you go. That's just what I'm showing you here with this nail. Back to the marble, I quickly realized, because I'm using a mixture of colors, and one of the colors is that pink. And you see how much it's running? So I have to quickly reassess what I'm doing. When I do my cuticle bead, also, I should have made it much smaller and much drier. But I left this in because this is a good way to show just how disastrous you can... Sorry, let me rephrase that. Just how well you can recover from a disastrous application if you know what you're doing. So at this point, I'm not liking the marble too much, so I'm just doing a little piecework and patching in where it looks good. putting the colors I want where I think they need to be, and working as I go. I plan on doing an ombre with the pink when this marble is done. As you'll see, as soon as I put my cuticle bead on, A, I used way too large of a bead. B, it was way too wet. So it just starts running everywhere, into my skin, my cuticle, down the nail. So I will show you how I clean that up. Another thing is I wasn't too fond of the marble that I had laid down, so I kind of just added to it. And as you'll see toward the end, it doesn't make the nail too thick. Another thing is if you have, see, I don't really like the way this marble is looking, but you'll see how I change it. When you're laying down your darker color, see how I'm just tapping on it right there? If you tap on the edges of it, it will fan it out and dilute it, so to speak, so you can get that fanning, like spreading spray type look that you want. I'll show you later. So here's the disaster I'm talking about. Not only do I not have control of that bead, but I've just covered my whole marble because I had to. What else am I going to do with that product? So here I'm going to show you, since I caught it quick enough and made the decision to get rid of it quick enough while this acrylic was still wet enough to work with, I'm literally just going to scrape it off with my brush. Stiff brush, nice and wet with monomer. I'm going to remove almost all of that pink. Make sure I get it from under the nail. Also, the word I couldn't think about was smoky look, where I'm tapping on the edge of the black as I'm laying it. It kind of gives it that smoky, veiny look that you want in a marble. So you don't have to necessarily move it around too much. You can just tap the edges. Now, I like this marble better. I added a little white. I don't know if you guys experience this, but I do my voiceovers on my iPhone. The recording bar that shows my voice talking it covers half my screen, so I can not see the nail I'm working on as I'm talking to you. So I'm going to try to catch what I'm doing to explain to you as I go, and I'm also going to try to catch the moments where I have slowed it down to real time to explain to you. It was my intent when I was making the video anyway, or editing the video. So here my ombre is much shorter. Later on, I don't like it and I add a little more. I bring it down a little farther. And right here, I'm just filling in some blank spots. You can't, when you have a marble nail, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to fill that in with brown, because then you're going to have one stripe or bar of brown and not marble. So I'm putting more product than I need along the edges, marbling that, scraping off what I don't need, which leaves a marble. Also, I learned trial and error. If you have a marble that you don't care for, or that doesn't come out just exactly the way you like too much, if you put a little more on top, and don't cap it in clear, you can file that off and you'll be surprised at the marble you'll see underneath. I don't recommend that. That's not how you should do a marble, but if all else fails, sometimes that's a save all. So I don't know if you noticed, but I picked up a much drier bead this time because I know I'm working with the Kiara Sky product. It's noisy in my house, so I'm doing the voiceover outside. Pardon the background noise. Also, guys, I like to clean my sides as I go. I angle my brush inward so that it pushes the product to the top. Also, drying out my bead there, as you'll see me do, really helps control on the Kiara Sky. I don't know if you can see, but I'm angling my brush. There you go. How I angle my brush upwards instead of just wiping the side pushes the product to the top and really narrows out your shape, especially when you're doing a coffin or a square, especially when you're doing short nails. So you're not just cleaning off your sides, but you are maintaining shape. A lot of times when you're wiping off the sides, you wipe off the product, and then you'll see you have no product on the sides. So what I learned to do was put more product than I need, just a little, on the sides, and wait for it to firm up or mattify a little bit, and then tap it into place and wipe off what I don't need. That way I keep my shape and my edge. Here's where I'm slowing down a little bit. I wanted to show you how I pick up a bead. That's real time. No, I think it's a little slower than real time. Yeah, it is. I get my brush, the monomer in my brush, and I tap, tap, tap or bounce, however you want to phrase that, into the acrylic, and then I will push it firmly one last good time until I literally see my brush dry out a little bit. Once you do it so many times, though, you're not really watching. Your hand just does it like muscle memory. I like to bring the bead past the end of my free edge because it gives that nice, crisp shape to the free edge of the nail, but I like to do it without wasting too much product. So I wait until my product is almost mattified, until while I'm pulling it down, I can feel that I need to use more pressure to move the product. That's when I know I can start really swiping and cleaning up with a firmer touch like I'm doing here. And then scrape it off. As you'll see, that did not make the nail thick. And I'm going to add a couple more beads here, which looks alarming. Like, how thick is she going to make that nail? But you'll see as I'm looking down the barrel, and I'll show you, it isn't thick if you're paying attention to what you're doing. Another thing I learned that was hard, I would put a bead right here like this and be missing that spot. And so then I would get another bead, and then I'd have it on my skin. And then it would be chunky there because I wouldn't be able to get it off, and blah, blah. And I was watching V one time, and she simply just patted. Just tap, tap, and patted it. And it was like a miracle. So what I just did there to kind of tap that bead into place near the cuticle where it was a little naked or a little bald, that was a game changer for me. I flooded the cuticle here. If your liquid to powder ratio is down good, though, you will have time for your bead to stay in place while you're working and for you to be able to move that bead around to clean up your edges. Also, I was trying extra hard on the application because there's almost no filing to be had. As soon as I start filing it, all these pop off. And every single one of these ended up popping off when I was doing the filing, and all I was doing was shaping the free edge. So the video I add to the end of this video showing you the final product, they don't look as flush to the cuticle as they do here because I had to glue them back on for the top coat and the final video. Right here I am showing you the side view, and I'm showing you where I'm missing product, and I'm showing you how to correct that. Oh, here's where I fixed the ombre, and I don't know. I covered almost all of it again, but I just didn't like the way that ombre came out. I do this same nail on my ring finger, and for whatever reason, the marble comes out beautiful and the ombre comes out beautiful. So, whatever. Because I'm doing this nail, because it's me applying it, I can see every imperfection, but they come out looking fine. Sorry for all the arm shots, but there wasn't any other way for me to do this. So see how I'm tapping on that black? I'm just patting it, and it starts liquefying and fanning out into that veiny, smoky look. That's how I like to marble. I like to pile them on top of each other. I would say like a medium consistency bead, not too wet, not too dry, and just move it around and tap it until it looks like this. Sometimes I'll pick up, because this is a quadruple marble, there's 4 colors in here, the brown, the pink, the black, and the white. It was too hard for me to pick up 2 beads at a time, if you know what I mean by that. So like dip your brush in the brown and the pink and then marble that. I didn't want to do that because I wanted all of the colors together. So I was doing it kind of piecework. Also, you guys, I mentioned liquid to powder ratio quite a bit. And I was listening, like reviewing one of my videos a few times back, and I thought, I hope that doesn't sound arrogant that I keep saying liquid to powder ratio and having it down. What I am trying to convey when I talk about that is that it's important, it's going to change your game. I know I've heard a lot of nail techs say it, and I always wondered, well, do I have it down? And looking back, I can definitely tell when I did and when I didn't. So you'll know if you do. You'll just know, because by then you'll be able to say, like I just said, wow, back then I didn't. This is so much easier now, or oh, I get this now. And there are so many nail techs who have great tutorials and videos showing how to know when you have your ratio down and how to pick up a bead. I might make a video like that. I don't think I'm like such a pro that I would do that, but I can definitely show my method and what I've learned. But that's why I mention that, because it really does change your game, and I'm just trying to convey to you all that life just becomes easier, and these little messes that you can end up making, like you've seen me do here, are easy to correct if you're using the product correctly, if I have said that right. All right, so here I finished my marble, which I thought came out pretty good. I liked the veiny way it looked, so I'm going to try to leave it alone. And I'm not going to ombre as deep on this because I want to keep the marble. I also thought the way the cuticle bead and ombre went a little deeper on one side looked cool. Looked almost like a color block, like I meant to do that. So I wasn't strictly ombreing, I was just putting a cuticle bead, and I like the color pop and the color difference. This pink is just beautiful. It's one of my favorites. Model 1s, this Amazon clear is one of the clearest clears I've ever worked with. Go get some if you don't have any. So there's several times during this video that I'm showing you guys the shape of the nail from the side. I sometimes see nail techs, or I wouldn't say nail techs, let me back up. I see a set of nails that catch my eye on Instagram or YouTube, wherever I'm looking, and I stop and I really look at it. I'm showing you my bead pickup here in a little real time. I think I'm doing this nail in real time as well. I also wanted to show you with this little brush how big of a bead I can pick up. Not anyone can. You don't have to have a huge brush to do a 2-bead method. Anyway, this could have been a 2-bead method if I was only going to put one more bead on, but I like to build small as I go. Back to what I was saying about seeing a really gorgeous set, and then I will see, as that person's moving their hand or the client's moving their hand, the side view, and you'll see a big dip, like their cuticle looks perfect, their shaping is just sharp and nice and on point, and then you see it from the side and you see that dip in the nail right about the center, right after the cuticle bead. And I always wonder why people don't look at their nails from the side and take the time to fill that in. So that's what I'm showing you several times on some of these nails here. And I'm also showing you how to do it using kind of a drier bead and really keeping that bead where you're putting it down and like feathering out from each side so that it stays where you want it. So you're not dragging it down and then just making a thicker nail. You actually are filling in the spot. So this is real-time application, and I'm showing you what I meant by when you have to use more pressure with your brush to move the product. That's when you can tell that's getting ready to harden, and you can do more forming and shaping than just applying. So right here my bead's still pretty wet, and I'm just laying it and patting it and keeping it into place until it gets dry enough for me to shape. That one I just had where I wanted it. So this is real time, by the way. I go pretty slow. So if I put a bead right here, it's because I haven't dragged it past its free edge yet. And like I mentioned, I really like to do that. So I'll put one toward the end. I'll drag it up to the top to make it blend. I'll tuck in my sides like I'm doing here. After I've done that a little bit, I'll pull it down to see if it's hardening yet. When I get that resistance and it feels like I need to use more pressure to move the bead, that's when I know I'll be able to cut it off at the end. So I'll pull it all the way past the nail, tuck it down the bottom, pat the tip like that, and then pull off any remaining from the end. There I'm showing you looking down the barrel. Guys, this angle was so hard. I could see what I was doing, but did not realize that my ring finger was in the way. So I'm sorry that we're kind of doing a peekaboo glance at this. I don't like a huge apex on a square nail. There needs to be one. I like the delicate little hump right at the cuticle that just gives it that pretty nail shape, but I don't like a hump there, if you know what I mean. I'm sure you guys have seen the nails that I'm talking about. So here, this is Not Polished products. You can see how I was able to move that bead wherever I wanted to, and it just stayed there. But then it also let me drag it down smooth like butter, just like they say. This nail I'm going to show you from the side so you can see what I'm talking about, where there's actually a divot right past the cuticle bead, because you're making that arch there for your cuticle bead, and then you have the rest of your nail. So for it to be straight all the way down, you're going to need to fill that spot in, and a lot of people don't. So I'm going to show you what I mean right here. Right there is the spot people miss. And I'm showing you how I'll put it there, drag it down, and then drag it back toward the cuticle so that it's not a... So I'm going to show you from the side how it was straight after that. But so that it's not a lump, and then also sometimes when you're doing that, your bead might be a little drier because you're trying to get it to stay there, and it will actually become discolored. It will look a different color than the rest of your nails, your application, because it is a drier bead. I don't know if you guys have ever encountered that before, but see, I'm pointing to you with my brush the void that I still see, and I'm showing you how I fix that. Just making a small one. Now it looks great. Now here's the void on this nail. The void on that nail is really clear. Do you guys see what I'm talking about? Right where I put that bead, I showed you the side view, and there was like a divot there. So I'm trying to leave this bead where I put it, but I have to drag it down so that it smooths out, if that makes sense. So you'll see, now you see how it kind of looks like it's in a puddle there, but it's smooth around the edges. This is a trick I had to teach myself over and over again, and how to drag it off the end to not make the rest of your nail too thick. See where I'm pointing? Even though I did that little bead, I still need a little more to make that nail completely straight. If I hadn't done any of that, I would have left that divot there. You guys let me know if you notice nails looking like that on clients, you know, on people walking around, on photos on the internet. I was showing you how that side needed some. Remember I told you with a marble you can't just put one straight color? Well, what was missing had pink there. So I'm going to put pink all down the sides. I'm going to wait for it to mattify a little bit and stay in place, and then I'm going to remove it from the marble area so it looks like it's blending in, but I've filled in that side. So see how it looks natural, like it should be there? Another instance of me leaving or filling in a spot and leaving most of that bead there in the blank spot, blending it on all sides. Another thing I wanted to mention, the only reason I'm capping in clear here is because I needed to fill in those spots. I didn't want to fill it in there. I would have had to redo my marble, add marble, and cover up the marble I already like. I didn't want to change that design, so I covered it in clear. Also, since it is a marble, if I was going to be doing filing or if it was a client, I would cap it in clear so that I didn't remove my marble. But in this case, I didn't need to cap in clear because I wasn't going to file. So that was the set. I'm just showing you, this is about the extent of the filing I could do before they started popping off. I'm going to do a matte top coat here. At the end of this video, I add a clip of the finished product, which is actually the TikTok that I make, that I post on Instagram, and as a short on YouTube of the finished product. If you guys watch my videos, you know I just add those in. you.